The Southeastern Conference, man. Don't we love the Southeastern Conference? You call yourself a college football fan, you gotta love the Southeastern Conference. It's peak college football, peak talent, so many great teams. That's what we're talking about today. We're talking about the SEC. And the SEC lost last year its predominant coach, which really shuffled things up. Nick Saban was out of the picture. So the question going into the big 2024 last year was who is going to be that next program that jumps up and really sort of takes the reins. And before last year, it was Georgia for the most part. I mean, they'd won 29 straight games, and then they lost to Alabama to Nick Saban in his last win. I think people pretty much for the most part assumed they would be the team that took over Alabama's dominant reign, and they were ranked at the top of the SEC to start the year.
Right.
And then they went on the road to Kroger Field to Kentucky, and they almost lost the Wildcats. People were like, hold on a second. Yeah. And then they went on the road again to play the Alabama Crimson Tide.
2 weeks later.
Got their teeth kicked in the first half. Then they came all the way back in the second half. Awesome game of the year. Just unbelievable stuff. The Crimson Tide won, and then everyone was like, hold on a second. Maybe Alabama still is the alpha. And then the Crimson Tide lost to Vanderbilt.
Yep.
So that was how the SEC started. And then people started to say Texas as that team that might be the alpha, that might be the number one team in the conference. And they had the opportunity to prove it against Georgia in Austin at home. And Georgia came in and dominated that game. I don't know if you remember watching that, but man, Georgia was the better team the whole game. And so people were like, well, it looks like Georgia has regained the throne of the top team. And then they lose to Ole Miss.
Right.
And they looked terrible against Ole Miss. And so the SEC was just out of whack all year last year. So much, for lack of a better term, cannibalism in the SEC. And it ended, of course, with Georgia winning the SEC championship. They've made 4 straight SEC championship games. Actually, notice it's been 4 straight. 4 straight for the Georgia Bulldogs.
Right.
They've won 2 of them, which is crazy. They beat Texas. Texas, first year in the SEC, made it all the way to the SEC championship.
Kind of as expected, though.
It was. They were a great team headed into the year. But I don't know if I expected a team to enter the SEC and immediately have as much success as they did. The other team entered the SEC, the Oklahoma Sooners.
Not quite.
Not as much success. They went 6-6. But maybe they got.
Alabama.
They did. They got a big win.
Yeah.
And I think a really interesting part about last year was every team had a big win.
Oh, yeah.
Vanderbilt beat Alabama. Kentucky beat Ole Miss. Arkansas beat Tennessee, who made the playoffs. Shout out Volunteers. They had a great year. Pretty much every single team
that's crazy.
beat someone that was pretty good, which is so fascinating to me how talented the SEC was top to bottom. And then we got to the playoffs. Tennessee got boat raced by Ohio State. Texas beat Clemson, then almost lost to Arizona State. They almost lost to Camp Scotty. That game was awesome. They almost should have lost that game.
Oh, yeah.
And then they lose to the eventual national champions, the Ohio State Buckeyes, in a great game in the Cotton Bowl. And then Georgia loses to Notre Dame. I feel like people barely talked about that.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Like, that was crazy.
That was crazy.
The SEC champion goes down to Notre Dame in the second, their first game of the playoffs.
Right.
That was wild. I feel like people barely talk about that.
Right.
That game, the result of that game is nuts. I didn't expect it. Some people say it was because Carson Beck was injured. I like to say it was because Notre Dame made big plays down the stretch.
Really well. No, I
They did.
agree with you.
They didn't dominate Georgia, but they did do enough to win the game.
They did, for sure.
So that sets the scene for the 2025 season. Who knows really who's going to be great in this conference? There's really not a team to beat.
No.
I would say that there's really maybe a top tier of like 3 or 4 teams, and then everyone else, and then like
We'll drop off.
maybe like 3 teams at the very end.
I agree.
But really, I haven't made power ratings for the SEC. I think that they're so interchangeable. Like, you could move around my power ratings, and I might question you at some points, but so many of these teams are so evenly matched.
Yeah.
So I think the SEC is going to be a blast this year. So, Will, let me ask you this: How excited are you for SEC football?
SEC football. I mean, there's nothing like it. I mean, there is truly nothing like it. I'm so excited. I think with what happened last year, it was crazy. It was crazy, and I feel like it is going to be just as crazy once again. So I cannot wait. Yeah, it's only, I guess the first SEC game will be September 6th, Kentucky Ole Miss. And I think, it's just going to be an unbelievable year, I think.
I agree. I think it's going to be so much
Cannot
fun.
wait.
I remember 2022, I remember watching the Alabama-Tennessee game when we lost. Epic game. That game was so awesome. And I remember thinking afterwards, I went to church the next day and I thought, man, so many of these people really had no idea what just went on. How are so many people in this world oblivious to SEC football? Because SEC football is so awesome. I can't imagine a world without it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be getting down to the nitty-gritty of the SEC.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to start it off with my power ratings.
Okay.
This has nothing to do with how this team did last year. Has nothing to do with who they're playing. Has nothing to do with the media's vibe around them. It has nothing to do with that. I'm just looking at the talented teams in the conference who I think would be favored over another team on a neutral field. Because I don't understand how people bring in things like last year's record and who teams are playing to evaluate how good they are.
Yeah.
Just talk about how good they are. So that's what I'm going to try and do for my ratings. But I'm just going to say this. I don't really have much to talk about the last two teams that I have because I haven't put enough time into researching them. And so I'll let Will take the reins on my number 16 team in the SEC. And that is the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Now, I know a couple people that are Mississippi State fans.
Me too.
And I love those people.
Me too.
I'm not a big fan of the Cowbells, but Mississippi State had a rough year last year. And, Will, I know you got a good friend that goes to Mississippi State.
Yeah.
So would you like to take over here?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take over. It was not the year that they were wanting under Jeff Lebby. Jeff Lebby is making a lot of money there, but if you don't win in the SEC, fans are not going to be happy. I mean, Jeff Lebby is making so much money at that job because it's a huge conference. I mean, but he is making a lot of money, and it was a 2-10 year last year. Their transfer portal class doesn't look to be super good, but they returned a lot of guys on offense. They returned 7 of 11 players on offense that played mostly last year. They got Anthony Evans from Georgia. He was returner, so that's nice. And Blake Shapen was injured and out of the lineup a lot last year. I think he got injured against Florida, and they had to put in Van Buren, and now Van Buren's at LSU. So that's good on the offensive side. On the defensive side, they were terrible last year. Their secondary was not good. I watched them play against A&M last year, and I wasn't super invested in that game because I was watching Alabama, Tennessee at the time.
It was a big game.
So I was pretty invested in that, but I can just tell that it was not a secondary that was super good. But they return, they return one quarter. They don't return any cornerbacks, but they return Hunter Washington and Isaac Smith, 2 of their safeties, which is good. Looking at the schedule, it's hard.
It's a doozy.
You got to go on the road at Southern Miss first. So yeah, you got to play Southern Miss on the road, which is interesting. I feel like that one is going to be closer than some would expect. Just because it's a smaller one. I don't know. It's a smaller game, but it's on the road. It is, So yeah. Then you got Arizona State. I think that's an interesting one at home. I hope they can, maybe keep it close against Sam Leavitt and the Sun Devils. Then you have a couple easy games. You play Tennessee, then though you have a tough one right after a couple easy ones. Then on the road at A&M, at Florida, Texas. I mean, that whole stretch is brutal. You have looks like they have an idol in between Texas A&M and Florida, but brutal schedule. Then at Arkansas, Georgia, at Missouri, and Ole Miss. So I don't have a ton of optimism about this, but I think if you wait another year, maybe it could maybe it's a little bit of a better year. But 2-10, I hope it doesn't happen this year, but it could happen again, I think.
Yeah, 'cause that's not what Mississippi State fans want to hear. Well, Bulldogs, I'll try and be optimistic here. Give you some optimistic thoughts. It is Jeff Levy's third season, so a lot of times
Is it his second?
I believe it's his third
It's
season.
his second.
Second season, whatever. So second season for Jeff Levy. My bad on that
No,
one.
you're fine.
I think that that's a good sign that it's not his first year. He's finally got the culture,
Yeah.
maybe the way he wants it.
Right.
So that's a good sign. If I'm a Mississippi State fan, an unsuccessful season is 2-10 again. Anything that's a step forward for that, in my
Yeah.
opinion, is successful. Now, I said at the beginning of the podcast today that pretty much every single team in the SEC got a big win last year. Mississippi State is the only exception
No, yeah.
to that rule.
That's
They
what I was-
didn't beat
When you said
anybody.
that, I was like, I can make the case for one team
Yeah.
that did not have a big win, but they could, you know.
Well, I think
This
that's the one
It's
point
the
where I
optimism.
think if I'm a Mississippi State fan, I don't care about making a bowl game. I don't care about contending in the SEC. I don't care about making the playoffs. I don't care about any of that. I would care about getting a signature win
Yeah.
on the year to either knock someone else out of the playoffs or just to
Yeah.
find something to be happy about. Whether that's Arizona
Keep it
State
close.
in
Yeah.
week 2, and they have to keep that game close. If they get
Yeah.
blown out at home by Arizona State to start the year, it's going
That's
to
a
be a rough
terrible
year.
start. Yeah.
It could be Tennessee, it could be A&M, it could be Florida Tech, it could be any of these teams that Mississippi State plays their best
Yeah.
and the other team plays their worst. They just need one break, in my opinion, to make this season successful. And I can't pick that game. In my opinion, every single game that Mississippi State plays that's not Southern Miss, Alcorn State, or Northern Illinois, if I'm picking it right now, I'm picking the other team to win. But
And what's amazing is last year they lost at home versus Toledo.
they did.
And you remember that game? It was 41-17. It was never close. It really wasn't. I mean, they just got absolutely smothered. And there's a good chance that they. I would say there's a good chance they get the year at least 3-1, but to a 3-1 start. But like, they lost that game versus Toledo last year. Now, am I saying that'll happen again versus Alcorn or Northern Illinois? They're a tough one to play against. Ask the Irish, so
That's true.
that is something to kind of keep an eye on. I mean, they could go off to a 3-1 start, but I don't know. You never know.
That's a good point. They don't have a good track record, I guess, in terms of that. Next up, my number 15 team, so just a little bit above Mississippi State. For me, it's the Kentucky Wildcats. Now, same thing. Kentucky's great. I have a great, amazing cousin that just graduated from Kentucky. She's awesome. And come basketball season, I cannot wait to talk about Kentucky. They're going to be at the forefront of our conversation there. They've got a loaded transfer class in basketball. But right now we're talking about football.
They do.
I got Kentucky at 15th. Really, the bright spots for Kentucky last year, in my opinion, was the beginning of the year
Yeah.
where they
For sure.
took Georgia to the wire. And then they went into Oxford and beat Ole Miss.
That was
That
a
was
crazy
a
one.
huge
That was a
win.
crazy game.
I mean, even thinking about the relevance of it now, if Ole Miss hung with them and won that game,
They could win at
they
home.
probably would have been in the playoffs.
No. Oh, okay. I
So,
understand what you're saying. Yeah, no, absolutely.
I mean, Kentucky had 2 great performances last year.
Yeah.
But they lost a lot of what made that team
They did.
make those games close. I don't really have much on Kentucky. If I'm a Kentucky fan, the game that I'm circling on this schedule, I think obviously it starts in week 2. You have Ole Miss at home.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Gotta keep
Yeah.
it close.
Yeah.
I know you beat Ole Miss last year. I wouldn't expect to beat them again, but that's the sort of game where you can keep it close. And if you get
Exactly.
blown out to start the year,
No.
not going to be great. The road games against South Carolina and Georgia, again, just keep it close. If you win, awesome. Just don't get blown out.
Mhm.
And then I think what's going to define the season for Kentucky is Texas and Tennessee at home.
Mhm.
Back-to-back
Back-to-back,
home
yeah.
games following a bye week. You're having time to prepare for that. I don't want to go out on a limb and say that Texas is winnable,
No.
but you never know in the SEC.
You never know.
And I think if they want to make a statement, I think those 2 weeks are their best chance to do it. And we'll see with the Kentucky Wildcats this year. I don't really have much else to say.
Yeah, you never know. I'm interested to see what happens at quarterback. This says Zach Calzada as their guy. Is that kind of like accurate?
That's what I've heard.
That's what I mean. Which is interesting because Zach Calzada's had a crazy, little journey throughout the SEC and all of college football. So there's that. They get a couple transfers. Law from Alabama. Interested to see what happens with him because I was super high on him last year. But like other than that, like I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about him. I haven't looked a ton at him. But yeah, I absolutely agree. They have to keep it close versus Ole Miss. I mean, that is a huge one, I think. And it is just I don't know. They have to keep it close in that one, I think. It is a ginormous one.
It is for them. I agree with that. So that's all we have for the Kentucky Wildcats. Again, come basketball season, we're going to be excited to talk about y'all.
We just don't have much.
At the number 14 spot, this is one of my favorite teams of the SEC just because of how much that last year, I love this team so much. If you've listened to one of our shows before, you might know who I'm talking about. At number 14, I have the Vanderbilt Commodores. Obviously, last year was a wild year for them. It was a whirlwind. They started off the year with a big win against Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
They slowed down. I think they lost to Georgia State.
They did.
Which was a bad loss, but then they followed up with a huge win. Like, biggest in program history. Unbelievable performance. Played a perfect game. Vintage Clark Lee. Vintage Diego Pavia. They take down the Alabama Crimson Tide. Number 1 at the time. Alabama. Vanderbilt beat Alabama. Number 1 Alabama. I don't want to say that too much, but it happened.
It did.
Then they also beat Auburn. So they beat Alabama and Auburn in the same year. Vanderbilt did. The Vanderbilt Commodores, that team, the one in Nashville, that Vanderbilt, beat Alabama and Auburn. And then they also beat Kentucky.
Yeah.
So the fact that Vanderbilt got 3 wins in the SEC last year, big round of applause for the Vanderbilt Commodores. Great season for Clark Lee.
Yeah, and a bowl win.
And a bowl
I was at that game. And it was,
over a pretty good Georgia Tech team, too.
They're
Not gonna lie. So, in my opinion, the number one thing that Vanderbilt has going for them coming into this season is their experience.
Yeah,
They return their head coach, their offensive coordinator, and their defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's an interesting fact. I just want to bounce off of Vanderbilt real quick. Not only is there no new head coaches this year in the SEC, so every single team in the SEC returns their head coach, but also there are only 3 first-year coordinators in the SEC between offensive and defensive coordinators. Can you guess who those 3 coordinators are? One of them's a layup.
Ryan Grubb.
There's your layup.
So that's one. Yeah, it's a layup.
Think about transfer quarterback.
Quarterback came in
to an SEC team.
John Mateer at Oklahoma. So they got the Washington State guy?
They do. They got Ben Arbuckle from Washington State. Okay. It was a package deal. They got Mateer and Arbuckle.
Interesting. I mean, that is something to be. That is crazy. I can't wait to get to them.
Yep. And then South Carolina has a new.
Oh yes, it's Mike Shula.
It's Mike Shula is the
that's
new
interesting.
Offensive coordinator.
That is crazy. I was about to say it, yeah. Last one I'm unsure of, but
yeah, me too. He's been around the block. But I think it's crazy that in the SEC there's only between head coaches, offensive coordinators, and defensive coordinators, there are only 3 new coaches.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
It's crazy.
Back to Vanderbilt, the experience. Of course, you return Diego Pavia, who he wasn't some amazing elite, like crazy level talented quarterback, but he was exactly what Vanderbilt needed. Exactly how Vanderbilt wants to run their offense. They ran it through Diego Pavia.
Super scary, yeah.
He had over 2,200 yards passing. He had 20 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions. So Diego Pavia didn't go crazy. He did throw for 4,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. He was efficient. He didn't turn the ball over. He had 800 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns on top of that. And he is pumped up for 2025. We'll say that. Diego Pavia is pumped up.
Sure is.
They also return Cedric Alexander, who had
Right,
586 yards
right.
rushing. That's
So-
big time. They return Eli Stowers.
Yeah,
People say
you
he's
gotta
the best
talk
tight end in
about
the
him.
country. Return a lot of their great defensive players. Just to name some: Brian Longwell, Langston Patterson,
Yeah.
and Randon Fontenette. Those
All
guys
names.
all over 70 tackles. They were all
Yeah.
a major
All
part
names
of
I
what
heard
made
of.
this defense
Right.
good.
Yeah.
So this is gonna help them right out of the gates, in my
I
opinion.
agree a lot.
Because they're a team, they know each other, they know how to play, and they are experienced. They've played a lot of college football before. In my opinion, the weakness about Vanderbilt is their ceiling. I don't think that Vanderbilt is like the most talented team. That's why I have them all the way back at 14th, is because they don't have great recruits. They don't really have the athletes to hang with the top level teams in the SEC. They can play great games, like against Alabama and really against Texas. They played amazing, perfect games and barely won. Now, I don't think that Vanderbilt is going to win 8 games in the regular season. I really don't think that they have
They
that
have a tough
chance.
schedule.
They also, I'm just going to read some stats from Vanderbilt for last year. They were dead last in the SEC in yards per game. They were 14th out of 16 teams in the SEC in yards allowed per game. So really, offensively and defensively, Vanderbilt was not good at all in the SEC.
But they found ways to win.
They
In a lot
found
of
ways
those
to win.
games, they were able to find ways to win.
They did. And how they found games to win was they took games and they shrunk them down. And they said, we're not going to beat you over a big old 60-minute football game, but if we can shrink it down as much as we can, we're going to beat you in the small sample size.
I am worried with, like, if Vandy can have a year like last year with this great, like, they have a couple just hard ones this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at Alabama, then you have, like, LSU, at Texas, at Tennessee. I mean, it's on and on, I think.
Mm-hmm.
They also have at South Carolina. I completely didn't.
Yeah, that's
look
how
at
you know
that.
you have a
It's
tough
just
schedule.
a tough schedule, man. It is going to be a grind for the Vandy Commodores, I think. So
It could be. Last year, Vanderbilt, of course, pulled off some upsets. They're going to have to do that again this year if they want to have a really successful season. Sorry to rate Vanderbilt this low, even after they had a great year last year.
it's weird.
Some good things for Vanderbilt. They were second in the SEC in sacks allowed last year. So they barely allowed any
A lot of
sacks.
that's
Their offensive line was great.
A lot of that's Pavia too.
A lot of that's Pavia. A lot of
Yeah.
that's not throwing the ball that much.
Yeah.
They were also last in the SEC in turnovers, so they turned the ball over the least. They only turned the ball over 7 times
That's insane.
all season. So that's
Yeah.
13 games, only 7 times they turned the ball over.
It's pretty incredible.
If they can do that again, they might be able to squeak out some big wins. At home, they get LSU, they get Missouri, they get Auburn. Those
Good.
teams are 2-loss, 1-loss teams by the time the Vanderbilt plays them. They could knock them off, and that could be their
Oh, yeah.
signature win, and
Oh, yeah.
they would celebrate it, and it would be a great year. Clark Lee, you have stuff to build on. When I look at this team, I don't see the most talented roster, but I do see some bright spots.
Really scrappy one.
Yep,
I think.
that scrappy is the name of the game for Vanderbilt.
Scrappy team.
You got anything more on the Commodores?
I do not.
All right, so we'll move on to our number 13 team
I'm gonna guess.
in the conference. You're gonna guess.
Scroll.
What's your guess
Is
gonna
it
be?
Arkansas?
It is Arkansas.
Okay.
It's the Arkansas Razorbacks. Blue
Interesting.
Pig Zooey.
Yeah.
Now Arkansas is a very interesting team. Obviously,
Yeah.
people have been talking about Sam Pittman on the hot seat for a long time. It seems like
It's weird, right?
it is weird because I really like Sam Pittman. I like his vibe. It makes me sad that he's on the hot seat because
Yeah.
I think he's a great dude. Is he an elite college football coach in the SEC? No, he is not. But I think Arkansas last year did one of the best things that an SEC team did. And I had my criticisms about this move last offseason. But last offseason, Arkansas hired Bobby Petrino
Okay.
as their offensive coordinator. And at the time, I was like, wow, that's a
It's
move.
a bold one.
It's a bold one because Bobby's been around the block. But if we want to look at what happened with the Arkansas offense, last year they were second in the SEC in yards per game.
Yeah.
They moved the ball better than every single team in the SEC behind Ole Miss. So that's crazy impressive.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
5th in passing yards per game, 3rd in rushing yards per game, and they put up the 6th most points per game in the entire conference, which is crazy. They had a crazy productive offensive year. The only problem was their defense was very bad.
Yeah.
13th in yards per game allowed, 16th, dead last in passing yards per game allowed, and 15th in points per game. So they got a lot of stuff to work on defensively. But this offense last year was dynamic.
They could score. Yeah.
They really could.
Very dynamic.
So that's a bright spot for Arkansas. Is their offense. Obviously, Taylor Green is coming back.
Which is huge.
It is huge. He is
Without
huge, by the
him,
way.
I don't know where they would really look. Like, I don't know, like, how they'd look without, like, him coming back. I think that's huge for him. I think it's huge they got Taylor Green back.
Definitely. No, I agree. Can you guess how tall Taylor Green is?
Is he 6'6"?
He's 6'6".
Okay, I thought it was either 6'5" or 6'6". I knew he wasn't 6'7".
He was not.
That's all. But I knew he was tall.
He was. He's 6'6". That is a large quarterback. He's great at running the ball. He's a pretty good passer. He threw for over 3,000 yards last year. He did have 9 interceptions, which is not a crazy amount, but only 15 touchdowns.
Man.
He's a great player. He really, really is. He returns Braylon Russell, who's going to be running back.
He was solid.
He was solid last year. He hasn't broken out. He's a true sophomore.
Yeah.
We'll see what he can do. As far as wide receivers, you get an Omega
Awesome
Blake,
guys.
who's a transfer from Charlotte.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's a little thin looking. But I trust Bobby Petrino. If Bobby
You
Petrino
lost a
can put in
couple
something
guys,
like that.
though. What's his name was really good last year.
You're thinking of?
Like Andrew Armstrong, he was solid last year, and so to lose him is really tough. So I'm worried about that. They don't have a lot of great wide receivers, so
That's
that
definitely a
are
concern.
super, like proven. I don't feel like.
Yeah, I can definitely see where that's a
At the
concern.
level.
I also think that this offensive line is going to be really good. They every single person on this offensive line is either a returning starter from last year
Yeah.
or a returning starter, a transfer from a different team that's Power 4. So their starting left tackle transferred in from Georgia Tech, where he was a starter. Their left guard is a returning starter. Their right guard is a returning starter. Their right tackle is a returning starter, and their starting center is a transfer from UCF, who dominated the run game last year.
Oh yeah, they did. They ran it so well last year.
They
It's
did.
the best thing.
So I think Arkansas's run game is going to be great. I think their offense might not be as amazing as it was last year, because it was amazing last year. But
I agree.
I think it's going to be great. They're just going to have to improve on the defense, where I really don't trust them. That's the point. I don't trust their secondary.
Yeah.
They do return Xavier Sori, who is going to
He's
be
good.
a beast. He had 99 tackles last year.
He's real good.
He's amazing. As far as the schedule goes for Arkansas, they open up the year with 2 easy games, and then it gets interesting. They have one of those unique schedules in the SEC, because they play Notre Dame at home in week 5, which unfortunately is an 11 a.m. game, so they don't get the primetime atmosphere. They've got some interesting home games. They've got some tough road games. I don't know if I would bet on Arkansas to make a bowl game, because their schedule really is really
super
very
tough.
difficult. But they could win some big games. They could score.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with the Razorbacks. I'm excited to watch some Arkansas football. It'll be entertaining, if nothing else. So I think that's all we got for Arkansas.
I've got one other thing. They had some wild games last year. Like, they were able to either, just put up insane amount of, points, or like they were giving up a lot of points. Like, it was just, every game was just so crazy. So, something to watch for again this year. So
A lot of track meets, I guess.
yeah, lots of track meets, man. It's gonna be interesting to watch.
I would say I would predict there to be some more track meets with
I
the
think
Arkansas
so.
Razorbacks this
I
year.
think so.
We'll see how that goes, though. Next team I have, the number 12 team, which is crazy that this team is number 12. But in my opinion, the 12th best team in the SEC, who had great year last year, great year the year before that, is the Missouri Tigers.
Missouri, okay.
I love Eli Drinkwitz. Eli Drinkwitz is maybe my favorite coach in the SEC. And one of those main reasons is, I heard all summer about the new playoff formats that they're pushing. I don't want to get into that right now. There's the 5+11 model, which the SEC is promoting, which I think would be terrible. And there's a different model. There's the 14-team AQ model. And Eli Drinkwitz, in SEC Media Day, went out and said, you know what? I don't like what the SEC's pushing.
Yeah.
I like the AQ model. I think it's better for college football.
I agree.
And guess what? He's still coaching in the SEC.
Yeah.
And he's still alive. And he hasn't
Nothing's
been laser beamed
happened,
out of the sky by the powers that be. So I love Eli Drinkwitz. I think he speaks his mind. I think he's a great coach. He's been phenomenal for the Missouri Tigers and their program.
Seriously.
It's his sixth year as the Tigers head coach. And I really like him. It pains me to make them the 12th best
3
team.
year last year. And it was a crazy year, I feel like. There were some ups and there were some major downs. And it was a 10-3 year still. Which is wild.
That is wild.
Like,
I mean, they do have a pretty manageable schedule. And they did last year, too. They should start the year 3-0. They play.
Kansas at home is, I don't know, man.
It'll be interesting.
That's gonna be interesting.
I think Missouri should
It's
win
a
that
rivalry,
game. It is
It's a rivalry renewed, I feel like. Because they haven't played in a while, so should be one to watch.
Definitely.
South
I think
Carolina at home.
they should, and they start with 5 straight home games, and then a bye week, and then another home game against Alabama. So they don't go on the road until October 18th.
Against Auburn, yeah.
That's their first road game. That's crazy.
Very, very favorable, yeah.
And then, their ending of the year, in my opinion, is much more tough than their beginning. They do play South Carolina and Alabama, who they lost to last year. They play Auburn and Vandy, who they beat last year. Both of those teams they sort of struggled with. And then A&M, who just wiped them last year. They got smoked by A&M.
That game, I mean, that was a low. That was one of those lows that was just like, whoa.
It was. They got blown out. And they were still ranked at the time. They just got smoked. And then they got Mississippi State, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. So they dodge LSU. They dodge Texas.
Yeah.
They dodge Georgia. They dodge Florida. They dodge Ole Miss. I mean, they really...
Pretty much everybody except Alabama. And
Yeah.
South Carolina, really.
They really have a favorable schedule.
Yeah.
So if any team can shock me, and I really like Missouri, so it would not be that shocking, but if any team can play above their rating, I think it's the Missouri Tigers.
I think so too.
They also have a great defense and a great run game, in my opinion. They have a very experienced defense, especially in the secondary. I really like their secondary. They were second in the SEC last year in passing yards allowed per game. Teams really struggled to throw the ball against this team last year, and they really returned most of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everybody, I feel like,
Mm-hmm. So they should be a great passing defense. Stopping the run will be a little bit of an interesting,
But they returned a lot of dudes, man.
They did.
7 out of 11.
Yeah, which is big time for that defense. Like, the defense is gonna be great. And then they also get Ahmad Hardy, dynamic running back from Louisiana Monroe. He had 1,300 yards last year and 13 touchdowns on 5.7 yards per carry.
Crazy.
Which is an amazing season. They also have Caden Green, might be the best offensive guard in college football this year. He's a returning starter. He was great last year. He should be a great NFL prospect. I trust their run game. A guy like Ahmad Hardy, it takes a while to transition from Louisiana Monroe to the SEC.
Yeah, I don't know how that will work out right away.
Mm-hmm. They do start with Central Arkansas, Kansas, Louisiana Lafayette. So you have a lot of time to work your way into it before you get South Carolina.
Home games also, all home games as we stated.
Yes. So the main weak spot that I have for the Missouri Tigers is their passing game.
QB.
I don't trust Bo Prabula very much at all. He was not that highly rated at high school. He was a 3-star recruit. He barely has any experience at Penn State. He was Drew Aller's backup. He had 275 yards passing last year.
Yeah, like every now and then.
He really has no experience being a starter in college football. He could be great. Bo Prabula could come in and be a great quarterback. I don't trust that. And you have, just like the same with the Mott Hardy, you have some time to work into the schedule and get things ready. But, I mean, when you're playing an elite SEC team and you're rolling Bo Pribula out there,
Yeah,
I don't trust that much.
I agree too.
Also, you're very unproven at wide receiver. You got a guy by the name of Kevin Coleman, who transferred from Mississippi State.
He was great last year, honestly.
He was great.
He was one of the only, who produced bright spots out of that, roster last year, I'd say.
No, I agree with that. He had 932 yards receiving.
He was super good, almost
very productive receiver. So he's got that. He's more of a slot receiver. He's only 5'11", 180. Outside receivers, very unproven. Joshua Manning and Marquise Johnson. Combined, they barely have 500 yards receiving between the two of them. So we'll see what happens. I just don't trust the passing game for Missouri, which is the main reason I have them at number 12. But again, as I said earlier, you could move Missouri up 5 spots in your power ratings, and I would not be mad because that's how close this is in the SEC.
Yeah.
We ready to move on?
Yeah. I'm trying to think who's next.
My number 11 team. I'm gonna try and hide it for Will so he doesn't see it. At number 11, I've got a playoff team from last year, the Tennessee Volunteers. I have as the 11th best team in the SEC.
That I was not expecting that.
Yeah,
I understand.
A lot of people might get frustrated about
Tennessee. Yeah.
I mean, Tennessee was great last year. And if you told me last year, at the beginning of the year, before the season started, if you told me that Tennessee would go 10-2 in the regular season and make the playoffs, I would have said, wow, that offense must have been clicking. It must have been humming. Nico must have been, zipping that thing all over the field, and they must have been putting up points. That was not the case.
It was not at all.
At least in their big games, their defense sort of bailed them out.
It was huge. I mean, their rushing attack was great. Their quarterbacks were great. So that was a huge, bright spot last year. It was not great in the playoff game, but
No, it was not.
everything else, it was solid. So
Now, Tennessee was great on paper last year. They were 3rd in the conference in yards per game. They were 1st in the conference in rushing yards per game. They ran the ball.
Really
Dylan
dynamically. Sampson, man, they are going to. I mean, that was a huge loss. I think
it definitely was.
He was great last year.
He was a workhorse.
Unbelievable.
Definitely. They were 12th in passing yards per game, and they
made the playoffs still, which is wild.
It is. It's crazy. They were 2nd in points per game, but a lot of that was just dumping points on Kent State earlier and things like that.
71-0.
Yeah,
Chattanooga, 69-3.
So that's where most of their points per game
51-10
from.
versus NC State. I mean, 56-0 versus Utah. All right, I'm done.
That's fine. I understand. They were 2nd in the conference in yards allowed per game. 2nd. So they had an elite defense. I think that
returned a lot of guys as well. Sorry.
They did. No, they 100% did. I think a big shout out needs to be given to Tim Banks, their defensive coordinator. He's returning too. Really, the main reason that I have trust in Tennessee, that people should have trust in Tennessee, is because of Josh Heupel and this coaching staff.
Yeah.
I mean, Josh Heupel,
he's a great coach.
Grabbed the Tennessee program out of the dirt, out of the sewer that they were in, and raised them up to be an elite college football program.
Oh, yeah.
He's done an immaculate job, just like Eli Drinkwitz has done. So I trust Josh Heupel. The question for me is, with Tennessee fans, you had your program in the dirt for a long time. Then it's been raised up. You've made the playoffs. You've had great seasons. You've had great wins.
Absolutely.
Can you stomach a 7-5 season? Can you stomach a season like that? Can you understand that maybe they're not going to go 10-2 or 11-1? Because this Tennessee team, especially offensively, is crazy unexperienced.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got Joey Aguilar, quarterback. It was announced today he's going to be the starter.
He was at App State.
He was at App State. He was pretty good at App State. He wasn't like, wow, this dude's amazing.
Yeah.
But he has started. He has played a lot of college football. They've got him at quarterback. I don't look at Joey Aguilar and say, wow, that's an amazing Hendon Hooker level quarterback. I don't see that about Joey Aguilar. Can he make plays? Yes.
Yes.
Can he be a solid quarterback? Yes. But in my opinion, he's sort of a Band-Aid that Josh Heupel and his coaching staff have stuck onto the whole of Nico Iamaleava. We don't got to get into the Nico drama. I don't think Nico was elite last
It was
year.
a swap for them.
It
They
was.
just, completely swap places.
Mhm.
He was not elite.
But I think Joey Aguilar is not a quarterback that's going to take Tennessee to the national championship. He could be solid, but we'll see. Receiver-wise, they've got a lot of young guys.
A lot of talent, though.
A lot of
Highly
talent.
recruited guys.
Definitely. I 100% agree with that. Mike Matthews,
Mike Matthews is
he is a true sophomore.
he was a dude in high school, though.
Yes, I agree with that. I think between Mike Matthews and Braylon Staley, those are two
Braden
amazing
Staley,
recruits.
too. He's,
Yeah. So I think that you might see them struggle out of the gates this
I
year,
agree.
but a lot of talent there. They've got some
Right.
raw talent
Which
over
is
there in
great
Tennessee
for
in the
them.
wide receiver room. They've got a solid offensive line. I think that pass protecting wise, it's going to be good. They were 10th in the SEC in sacks allowed last year, which is not great. But they return Lance Hurd at their left tackle,
Yeah.
and they have a true freshman by the name of David Sanders,
Yeah.
who is a
Huge
5-star.
recruit. Huge recruit.
That dude is
A
amazing.
lot of money that they gave that man. They gave him a lot of NIL money, I've heard. They're super, high on him. So I'm excited to watch him.
I think he's going to be a stud. Of course, he might struggle out the gates too, true freshman.
True freshman. He's playing
But
right
once
away. Yeah,
he eases into his role,
He
he's
should be
going to be
good.
one of the elite
Yeah.
tackles in college football, I think.
sure.
They have a very, very inexperienced defensive line. We talked about last night with the Alabama Crimson Tide their lack of returning sacks, kind of. Tennessee is the same way. In their D-line, they return a grand total of, looks to be 6 sacks, which is not great.
6 sacks.
6 sacks between their forward.
Between their 4 guys. Okay. So
They're going to need someone to rise
Dominic
up and get to
Bailey,
the quarterback. Dominic
Bryce
Bailey,
Mason,
yeah, those guys. Only 6 sacks between the 4 of them.
Kenny Beering. Yeah.
They need someone to break through and be able to get to the quarterback. I think the best part about this team is their secondary.
Secondary's nasty. I mean,
Yeah.
how are you gonna just pass it on them? It's gonna be hard to pass it on them.
It's going to be very tough. They were 5th in the SEC in pass yards allowed last year.
Jermon McCoy,
Jermon McCoy
Ricky
is
Gibson,
one of the best defensive players in
Andre
the SEC.
Turrentine.
Yeah.
Carter's great.
This
Dude.
secondary is loaded,
Yeah, That's a
especially
bright
at the
spot.
corner position.
It's a bright spot.
It might be the most talented secondary in the SEC.
I would say so. I mean, I don't look at another one that I'm like, maybe Texas, I'd say. Maybe Texas, maybe Alabama. Those are close, but they just return so many guys, So much. I mean, it's crazy. So many veterans, I feel like.
Yes, and not only is it returning production, but it is returning elite production with Jermon McCoy and Ricky Gibson Jr. Ricky Gibson the third, by the way. My problem to Ricky Gibson Jr. out there, but
He's a junior.
those 2 corners. Yeah, he is a
junior.
junior. That's true. Those 2 guys on the outside are going to be great. They're going to be able to lock down a lot of outside receivers, other than Jeremiah Smith, as we saw last year. But
They want to play him.
yeah,
They probably won't play him in the playoffs because I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. But you never know.
you never know with Josh Heupel.
Yeah, he's a great coach.
I just look at this Tennessee team and I see a lot of inexperience. I see a lot of unproven talent. I see a weaker offense than they've had in the past.
Yeah.
Now it is Josh Heupel, who really hasn't had a bad quarterback in his entire reign as head coach of Tennessee. He's
Yeah.
been great.
He hasn't.
So I trust him. Do I trust him to make the SEC when you're playing Georgia, at Alabama, Oklahoma, at Florida?
No. Yeah.
That's a loaded
So much
schedule.
unproven talent,
It's a lot. I think it's a long shot for Tennessee to make the playoffs. I think college football is better when Tennessee's good. I think they have a great environment over
Oh
there.
my gosh.
Unbelievable
So
Neyland
loud.
Stadium. So I hope you get some big wins. But if I'm a Tennessee fan, I might be preparing myself for not 10-2.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one other kind of never really talked about it, running back. losing what they had last year, I think that's something to watch for because they ran the ball so well last year.
Yes.
Like it was crazy, and I think that's just huge that they can't really run with a guy like what's his name?
Peyton Lewis. Oh, Dylan Sampson.
Dylan Sampson.
Dylan
I mean, he was
Sampson, yeah,
unbelievable last year. So I'm worried about that.
Yeah, definitely. They were first
SEC.
in the SEC in rushing yards per game last year and first in yards per carry.
They ran it unbelievably last year.
They did. They
It's
really
insane.
did.
So
So they're gonna have to get that back. I also drafted
Intriguing
Dylan
team.
Sampson in
What?
I drafted
Dylan
Dylan Sampson in my Dynasty Fantasy League. So Dylan Sampson, if you're out there, hopefully
What
you
round
got a great
was
NFL career.
Sampson, I'm interested. What round was he?
I don't remember. I do not remember. But
I don't remember
he was a
getting
stud.
drafted. Yeah. All right.
all right, next up,
I
my
have
number
guess.
10
I have
team.
my guess.
All right, what's your guess?
Is
Let
it
me
the
hear it.
Auburn Tigers?
It's the Auburn
Okay.
Tigers. Will's favorite team.
I thought that they were 11th, and was wrong. So I
Mhm.
thought they were going to be 11th, but
Well, I got them at number 10.
number 10. Okay.
Top 10 SEC team, the
Ooh.
Auburn Tigers. Lots of turnover. You know what's really interesting about Auburn that I thought of recently was that obviously they weren't amazing last year. I think they went 5-7 last year.
Yeah.
Missed out on a bowl game. If you look at the formula that I use, which combines yards per game, passing yards per game, rushing yards per game.
Okay.
So how well your offense did throwing the ball and running the ball. And then the same on defense, how well you stopped the run and stopped the pass. Auburn was the 6th best team
Right in the middle.
in the SEC with all those stats combined. Number 6.
Pretty good.
So you ask yourself, well, why did they go 5-7? My main reason why they went 5-7, I've got 2 reasons. Number 1, -9 turnover margin. They turned it over way too much. Peyton Thorne was not great at ball security. And also red zone scoring. They really struggled in the red zone. They moved the ball really well and then really couldn't punch it in at the end. So
That is true.
a lot of that is bad breaks. I think Auburn was much better than their record showed last year.
They lost a lot of ones that were so close that they totally could have won. I mean, there were so many ones like, there were so many ones that they, had and just could not.
There
Not
were
get it done.
there were a lot, and I think a lot of that was for bad breaks.
Oklahoma and Missouri were just ones that were.
You're right there. I agree with that. I think Auburn had a lot of bad breaks last year. I think that maybe if the ball bounces their way this year, they're looking at a much better record.
Yeah.
I think
I
that
agree.
Auburn is incredibly interesting. The most interesting thing that I want to watch about Auburn is their passing game.
Passing game. Yeah.
They have a pretty awesome offensive line that's returning, in my opinion. They return pretty much all of their interior, their guards, and their center.
Yeah, they do.
And then they have Xavier Chaplin at left tackle, who is one of the highest rated transfer portal acquisitions on 24/7 Sports. And then they also have Jeremiah Wright. Or no, that's the right guard. Mason Murphy, who will be a first-year starter for the Auburn Tigers. I think their offensive line is awesome. I think they should be able to protect well. For Jackson Arnold, who has been topic of conversation
Yeah.
at a lot of spots in the SEC.
Yes.
What version of Jackson Arnold are we going to see? Are we going to see the high school version, which was one of the highest recruited players in the country, who they thought was going to be the next great Oklahoma quarterback?
Yeah.
Or are we going to see the Oklahoma quarterback that he was?
You know what, Robert? I do not know.
You know what? I don't think
I do
anyone
not.
knows.
Nobody knows, and that's why they were so intriguing. That's why Auburn is just so intriguing because nobody knows. So
Yeah.
we're gonna see.
We are going to see. And you know what? He's got some help.
He does.
He's
Great wide
got
receiving core.
great wide receiving core.
Solid wide receiving core.
You want to name two?
Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton Jr.
Those are some studs, man.
They're
Those are some
solid.
studs.
They're solid guys.
If you watched Georgia Tech football last year, you would 100% know Eric Singleton Jr. because he was so heavily involved in that offense.
He was a presence. Yeah.
They would send him in motion, they would fake it to him, they would give it to him, get it out to him in space.
Yeah.
He would run downfield routes occasionally, but he was a weapon. He is going to be a weapon in this Auburn offense. And then Cam Coleman on the outside. He had a rough start
He did.
to his regime at
He
Auburn.
did.
But
He
boy, did
closed
he
it well.
pick it up.
He closed it well. He closes
Yes.
very well.
He was a great recruit out of high school.
Yeah.
True sophomore. And then also flying under the radar, Malcolm Simmons had 431 wide receiver yards last year for the Tigers, another true sophomore. He can be a very reliable guy as well. I really like this receiving core. It's one of the best receiving cores in the SEC. So Jackson Arnold isn't throwing it to
A bunch of bombs.
a bunch of bumps.
He's got some solid guys.
And
Running back's interesting.
Running back is very interesting, but
You lose Jarquez Hunter.
you do. And boy, is that a big loss. Because he
Jarquez
was
was great.
great.
He was amazing.
He was. And his
Kentucky game. was awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, he's been great his whole career, Auburn. His replacement, Damari Alston, is a great backup running back.
Yeah.
He runs hard. He has great
Couple
heart.
moments. Yeah.
He has. I don't know if I trust him as the starting running back of the Auburn Tigers.
Neither do I.
I mean,
Or not.
they were sixth in the they were seventh in the SEC in rushing yards per game last year. A lot of that is really due to Jarquez Hunter. They do return their interior offensive line,
Which is big, I think.
and they have Damari Alston. We'll see what they can do. I don't know if I trust the running game as much. And then defensively is where this Auburn team gets a little dicey. I think, they do have a guy by the name of Kendrick Falk. Keldrick Falk. Sorry,
You're good, man.
Keldrick Falk.
I've heard all about him.
Yeah.
All Auburn fans have, said Keldrick Falk this, Keldrick Falk that. He's, very, very solid.
He's an elite draft prospect. Had 7 sacks last year, 45 total tackles. Had a great season. He was a great recruit. Will probably be a first-round pick. That dude is a potential game wrecker.
Yeah.
Really like him. If I'm an Auburn fan, the main spot that I'm concerned about with this Auburn team is the secondary. I think their secondary is a little thin. I think they're unexperienced. They were 9th last year in passing yards allowed per game. So we'll see if they can pick that up. I don't know. They didn't do much in the transfer portal to help themselves out. They got a lot of young guys out there. I don't know how they're going to hold up against some of the elite passing teams
Yeah.
in the conference.
Like Oklahoma.
They play
Right.
Oklahoma
On
on
the
the tier.
road.
They play Georgia. Georgia
Yeah.
was an elite passing team last year. They got to play Taylor Green. They got to play.
Vanderbilt on the road could be tough.
That could be tough also. And then they've got to play, of course, Ty Simpson in that loaded wide receiver room for the Alabama Crimson Tide. We'll have to see how they hold up.
Jordan Hare, though.
It is in Jordan Hare. But if I'm an Auburn fan, the one thing I'm most concerned about is the secondary, is the pass game. So we'll see what happens with Jackson Arnold and the secondary.
Yeah.
Those are the two
Interesting.
question marks that I have for the Auburn Tigers. They opened the year with a banger of a game.
At Baylor. I'm so excited about that. I mean, I do not know which way to, go with that. Like, I don't know, who to choose. I'm leaning now more towards the, home team,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. Man, those Chrome Domes are going to look cool.
Those Chrome Domes
I
are
love
gonna look
Baylor.
great.
I love them.
Listen, if you
Grandfather went there, so.
shout out Will's grandfather, man. going to Baylor. That's great. If you don't have plans that Friday night, if you have plans that Friday night, cancel them.
here.
Cancel them. Watch Auburn versus Baylor. It's going to be 7
Huge
o'clock
game.
on Fox. Huge game. 2 great offenses. I think it's going to be high scoring. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be an awesome game to watch.
And if they
I agree with
lose
you.
that-
I can't pick the winner, but whoever wins this game is going to be huge for the rest of their season.
And if they lose that game, man, they're going to be they are going to be mad down there in Auburn.
Yeah, I agree with that.
They're going to be, that's a huge one. That's a huge one.
It is
Because it
going to
only
be a
gets-
great game.
Harder right after that. So, it's a big one.
I think if
Excited
you're
to
a
watch it.
college football fan, if you're a sports fan, watch that game on Friday night. It's going to be a good one. I'm excited. Then they get Ball State and South Alabama. Should take care of those 2 teams.
But then the next couple.
Then-
OU, at A&M, Georgia after a bye, which is huge because it's also at home.
Mhm.
It's going to be an interesting one because they always play them pretty tough. They always play Georgia tough, I feel like,
They do.
and especially there. So
Definitely. I agree with that. And then they got Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, Vanderbilt,
Mercer. I
Alabama.
guess that's a win. I guess Mercer's a win.
I guess we can give it to them. Y'all beat Mercer. Congratulations, Auburn. We beat them last year.
They're not that good. All right.
I think, in my opinion, a successful season for Auburn looks like not getting blown out in any games, making a bowl game, and beating either Georgia or Alabama at home. If they can win one of those games,
Really?
and they can stay competitive, I think they should win a lot of the games they have in the SEC. I don't think Auburn's going to make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to be that good. But if they can beat Georgia or Alabama, and if they can hang with and beat half of the other teams on their schedule, which I think they can pretty much do, then I think that's a very successful season for Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers, who I really like. So we'll see what happens with Auburn.